Hi everyone, and welcome to the Global Impact Virtual Conference hosted by ISTE Community Leaders, and to our session called From Students to Changemakers, where we're focusing on teaching climate change and civic action in the secondary classroom. In the bottom corner here, you'll see a QR code that will open up a copy of our presentation. Please feel free to check that out and use it however you'd like. Our goal here is to share resources and help empower all of our students to become changemakers for climate action. My name is Mel Pubel, and I am the Service Learning Coordinator at the American Community School of Abu Dhabi.
And I'm Casey Gabler, the High School Social Studies Learning Leader at the American Community School of Abu Dhabi.
So our goals for our session here are to help all of us think about, be inspired, learn about specific examples that will lead us toward these four kind of outcomes that we see here. So the first being to create transformational and engaging classrooms that challenge students to critically examine the climate crisis through investigation and civic action. Also to model the use of artificial intelligence, of augmented reality, geographic information systems, to promote innovative and enriching learning experiences, and to discover how climate education can bring core curricular concepts to life, teach analysis, synthesis, and problem-solving skills, and give students agency through solving real-world problems. Also, our final goal is to create a community of like-minded educators, so thank you so much for being here, to collaborate, share best practices, and foster innovation both inside and outside of the classroom to engage students in climate action.
Before we dive into the different examples and strategies that we want to share with you today, I thought it would be a good idea to start with the why and discuss a little bit about the importance and relevance of climate action in the classroom. So first of all, climate action is essential. UNESCO says that climate change education should not be contained within the confines of the classroom, but calls for apprenticeship in direct community engagement and engagement with the school itself. So it's not enough for students to just learn about climate change, but they also need to take action or learn ways to take action themselves in their school and their wider community. Furthermore, climate action calls for a multidisciplinary approach. The UN says that holistic concept of sustainable development is not helpfully contained within the confines of a particular subject or discipline. No one subject or specialist area can illustrate all the dimensions that are likely to come into play as learners consider sustainability concepts. So in other words, for students to really understand climate change and take climate action, it's important for teachers to adopt a multidisciplinary approach. And you'll see that reflected in some of the examples and strategies that we're going to show you today. So what kind of learning and teaching approaches does climate change education for sustainable development actually call for? Those would be skills for open-ended learning. Specifically, there are 6 skills that UNESCO says learners need for open-ended learning that address climate change in relation to sustainable development. And those 6 are skills of information management, skills of critical thinking, skills of action, skills of interaction, futures-oriented skills, and personal skills. You can pause and read the details for each of those, but essentially, if you are teaching climate action in your classroom, you are going to be teaching high-level thinking and critical thinking skills for your students.
At the American Community School of Abu Dhabi, service is a pillar. And something that's really important to us is to understand that service action can look many different ways. And so this is just a quick overview of the different types of service that we can engage in and encourage our students to engage in that might help you to shape some of the future experiences you create for your students. So direct service is when action is being taken directly and affects and involves the recipients. Indirect service means that the action being taken supports individuals without direct contact, so maybe something like a fundraiser or creating resources for an organization to use. Advocacy, of course, means raising awareness or promoting action on an issue of public interest. And research means adding to the body of knowledge on a particular topic. So just thinking about types of service action in this way can really kind of expand our approach to types of actions that we can be facilitating for our students or encouraging students to take for themselves, hopefully. I don't know if any of you might have seen or be aware of this TED Talk by Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson called Finding Joy in Climate Action, but this idea really resonates with what we try to achieve at ACS. in terms of helping students to identify their own skills, interests, and passions, and connecting those with taking action. And so just taking a look at this resource and reflecting on it for yourself, maybe guiding students through conversations around this diagram might help you to think more creatively, think more authentically about the types of climate action that we can take. Some examples of what we do at our school that connect to this idea are the following on this screen, and we're so happy to be able to share this with you. Our first picture here on the left-hand side is a project by the student in the middle. He's kind of really interested in engineering and building things with his hands and technology and design, and he challenged himself to create a vertical hydroponics unit. This was something that he did as a Boy Scouts project, but then he collaborated with the grade 7 science team at our school, and this hydroponic tower now lives in the grade 7 science classroom, and he connects with students to kind of share his passions and explain his process. The middle photo is a club that we have called the Youth Sustainability Alliance, and something that they've worked on this year is they've actually created a partnership with a local university here, actually a branch of NYU that's located here in Abu Dhabi, and they're being supported by professors on public transit research because they're really passionate about energy emissions and what can be done to conserve energy, to reduce carbon emissions in our atmosphere. And so they're working on research as their action. And finally, on the right side, we have a photo of a group of students that represent our athletics conference called MISAC. And in the photo, we have students represented from Abu Dhabi, from Dubai, from New Delhi in India, and also from Doha in Qatar. And this group of students have all connected through teachers, of course, but all have a passion for sustainability and all are part of different athletic teams. And they have set on a mission to create more sustainable events through this athletics conference. These conferences bring hundreds of students together several times a year, and it's an impactful way that they can focus on spreading awareness about sustainability, take action in their own communities that potentially can have a regional regional impact, considering that these schools are located in different parts of the world. So it's a really interesting way for students to have come together and share their passion, share their knowledge, but through this network of sports that they have.
So now that we've discussed some of the important reasons why climate action is so important for teachers in all subject areas, let's explore some examples from different subject areas and grade levels. The first example is from my IB geography class. Specifically, we're looking at, in this example, urban microclimates, climate change, and environmental justice. So if you click on the links here on this slide, you'll be able to see the resources in full, but this is a case study example of the urban microclimate and how climate change exacerbates disparities in urban areas, so connecting it to environmental justice. And then at the end, students will use Flipgrid to create a brief speech or a call to action about what they think should be done around disparities in climate change in different urban communities around the world. So this falls under the type of service of research and advocacy. This could be done in about 1 to 2 lessons, depending on how long your class periods are. And again, if you click the links that are on this slide, you can see the resources for yourself and explore them further.
In a middle school language arts class that we have here at ACS, a unit of study focuses on the United Arab Emirates' approaches to sustainability. And they do this by anchoring in the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which, if you haven't explored yet, are an incredible resource, not only to learn about the world's most pressing problems, but also to learn about what specifically can be targeted and should be focused on to try and create a more sustainable future by 2030. And so as this unit kind of focuses on learning about our local government, local sustainability approaches, local environment, with the anchor as the UN SDGs, and then current events and other local resources to understand how the UAE's actions connect to this global goals. And once the research is done, so we can identify what's being done here in the UAE connected to sustainable development. Then they advocate to a wider audience, creating presentations, speeches, visual representations of their choice so that they can help people to understand how the UAE is involved in sustainable development for a brighter future.
This is an example that includes some important math skills, specifically statistical analysis, as well as designing surveys and calculating carbon footprints. I actually use this with my IB Environmental Systems and Societies class. And again, that multidisciplinary approach is really important here because they're not just learning about the climate and the environment, but they're also using math skills to analyze and gather data around this topic. So this actually takes about 1 week. Students design a research question and they design a survey to get information about whether or not there's a correlation between carbon footprint and someone's environmental values or what they think or believe about the environment. And again, if you click the link here that says digital notebook, it'll take you to this digital notebook that is the framework for this lesson. And you're welcome to make a copy and try this out for yourself. And this falls under the research and advocacy type of service as well.
Our grade 9 science class has a fantastic unit on climate change that really is focused on data analysis. Students throughout this unit dig deep into all kinds of different data related to causes and effects of climate change. But to start off the unit, we have engaged in this really exciting, innovative experience created by Climate Fresk. This organization has created a workshop that is kind of a team building experience, an engaging learning opportunity to understand the basic causes and effects of climate change. Actually, more than basic. There are a number of levels, so there is a level that's appropriate for younger students and one that is for kind of high school students and adults. The language that's used, the information that's used is all coming from directly from UN documents. And it's an activity that we've used to launch this climate change unit in grade 9 science that really allows for students to get kind of a hands-on interactive provocation, you could call it, or phenomenon, to engage in kind of big picture understanding of the causes and effects of climate change that then allow them to dig further into the specifics of the data that they explore in this unit. It's definitely something worth exploring. It is an organization that allows people to become trained facilitators. I myself have become a facilitator along with a few of my students, and so we now are able to deliver these workshops within our community, and it's quite powerful.
This is an example from our Global Studies, Social Studies class in grade 9 at the American Community School of Abu Dhabi, but this can be done in many different subject areas, not just social studies. In this example, students participate in a World Climate Summit simulation. So this helps them understand UN climate change negotiations through the process of role play. And so they hopefully get a better understanding of why tackling this issue is so complex. And it also gives them the opportunity to be critical thinkers and to see different perspectives around this topic. So this could take 2 to 3 hours, but it's also adaptable to 45 minutes. It comes from the Climate Interactive website, which has all of the summit simulation materials and setup for teachers ready to go. So it's basically just like a plug and play activity, but it's also adaptable depending on your time frame that you have available. And again, you can click on the link here on this slide to take you to that website and explore further. This would fall under research and advocacy type of service. So students are researching the problem and they're specifically researching how the problem of climate change impacts a particular country and what that country might want to do about it.
In our activism and entrepreneurship course, we really try to provide students with as many opportunities as possible to share knowledge and to share their interests in different ways. It's a project-based course that focuses tremendously on advocacy and on the importance of being able to have others understand your message, appreciate your message, value your message, want to get on board with your message. And this particular unit was focused on podcasting. And what we wanted to do was have students think about climate change and think about what particular aspects of climate change, whether it's causes or effects or plans or NGOs that are doing the work or government policy. We wanted them to identify a particular aspect related to climate change that they would want to learn more about and that they think it's important for others to learn about. And so we actually started this with a fantastic resource created by C-SPAN Classroom that is a set of documents, resources, videos to teach the Paris Climate Accords. And so we started by kind of guiding students through this set of resources by C-SPAN so they could really understand where we are starting with the Paris Climate Accords and understand the context that we are now in politically across the globe. And once they kind of understand this background, then we started to explore current events, getting an understanding of what are the effects of climate change are in different parts of the world. And after we had this exploration, the students then narrowed down into the topic, like I mentioned earlier, and recorded a podcast to inform their audience about this background information to understand the Paris Climate Agreement, and then also to connect that to what is happening now in a part of the world in an area that they think is interesting and important for others to learn about. So this was a great opportunity for us to practice research skills and to also allowed us students a lot of flexibility in exploring obviously an extremely important topic with so many nuanced facets. And the podcasting angle allowed students to really dig in and think about how can I craft a message that people will want to pay attention to, which of course is so important when advocating. Moving on now to digital tools. I'm sure all of us, if you're in any situation similar to what we are in ACS, but you have been hearing more and more about AI tools and generative AI. And this is something that we wanted to share just because of how powerful these simple strategies can be in elevating what we do in the classroom for our students. So this is just with ChatGPT. Of course, there are many, many different options now. And I am by no means an expert, but ChatGPT does exactly what I need. And I'm definitely looking forward to learning about more tools and how I can continue elevating. For the context here, we just wanted to provide a sample prompt that could be used to help come up with different ideas that you could do within your classes if you're feeling stumped or if you're feeling like you want a little refresh. So you can look at this prompt carefully. Feel free to pause this, take a look at the red text, and think about what you would put in for your own context. And for us, for example, it's important to connect back to the Sustainable Development Goals. It's something that we do across our school, and so that was included in our prompt. Doesn't necessarily have to be for you, but for us, it helps to kind of richen our connections to the SDGs that we're talking about all the time. This next prompt is specific to service learning. Because as we mentioned earlier, service is extremely important in our school community. It's a pillar in our school, and we're always thinking of creative ways to engage in service. And so if you're not sure where to start, this is a great place. Describe 10 different service learning experiences that you could use to kickstart a, let's say, climate change unit about forest fires. Whatever it is you'd want to put in here. It's extremely powerful, extremely useful, practical way to get started with generating ideas if you don't know where to start, or of course with elevating ideas that you already have. If you have seen an example done, if we've done something in the past, think about how could I create a service learning adaptation or a service learning extension to an existing unit, and then of course you would describe your unit in the prompt. But I have just been so impressed and saved so much time, as I'm sure I'm saying the most obvious to many of you out there right now. But in case you haven't explored using AI tools within the service learning context, I think it saves a ton of time and definitely pushes your thinking in many more directions than you might have without this incredible tool.
So if you'd like to explore any of the resources that we've highlighted for you today, you can scan this QR code or type in that bit.ly link It'll take you to the slideshow, and then there's a link here on this slide that will take you to all the different resources that we've shared already, as well as many others from a variety of different subject areas that we have collected over the years or tried in our own classrooms. So please feel free to check those out. And we hope that they'll be useful to you in your own classroom. We'd also like to invite you to collaborate with us. If you have some ideas of things that you want to share that you've done in your own classroom, please, again, scan the QR code or type in that bit.ly link, and it'll take you to a Padlet here where you can share ideas and resources that you think might be valuable. We'd love to see them, and we'd love to collaborate with you further.
Now, of course, it would be ideal for us to be able to reflect in person, but still, we'd like you to take a moment to think about everything that you have heard here today. A lot of information, and so hopefully there's something that has stood out to you right now that you feel like you could use, or that maybe has shifted your thinking in some way. So we'd like you to think through the following questions. What's your vision when it comes to climate change education, when it comes to encouraging your students, supporting your students in taking action? Is there anything that you're ready to let go of? And that could be something that you've done in the past. That could be an idea that you held, maybe a misconception that you held. What's something that you're ready to let go of so that you can really move in a new direction? And in that new direction, what are you going to take with you? Is there something from this presentation that you feel like you can really take and use and look into and hopefully implement? And if there is, hopefully there is, what is the first step that you'll take? What's the first thing? Maybe it's just clicking on some of these links that we've provided to you. Maybe it's connecting with one of your colleagues. We hope that you have really been able to draw some practical ideas and tools from this presentation.
Thank you so much for watching our presentation. And as I said before, we would love to connect with you and to collaborate with you. Our emails are here. And if you haven't already scanned that QR code, please do so you can access the slideshow and the resources that we've shared with you today. Thanks again for watching this session as part of the Global Impact Virtual Conference hosted by ISTE Community Leaders. Please watch other sessions, including those pre-recorded and those offered live. You can join in the conversation throughout the conference on ISTE Connect and on social media using hashtag ISTE Global and hashtag ISTE Community. Thank you so much and have a fantastic day.